You are sitting across from someone you love, and you cannot remember the last time you made a decision without checking their reaction first. Not a big decision, a small one. What to eat, whether to call your sister back, whether to open the window. Somewhere along the way, your own preferences became dangerous territory, and you learned to navigate around them. You may not call this control. You may just call it your relationship. The cost of missing this pattern is not dramatic. It is quiet. It is years of slowly shrinking until your world fits inside one person's approval. It is the confusion of loving someone who seems to love you back, while simultaneously feeling less capable, less sure, and less like yourself than you have ever felt. People who live inside coercive dynamics often do not recognize them because the control does not arrive all at once. It builds in small adjustments that each seem reasonable on their own. Each compromise feels minor. Each withdrawal from your own life feels like a practical choice. But the accumulation is devastating, and by the time you notice how small your world has become, the walls have been closing for a long time. To understand why this happens, we need to look at the mechanism. Domestic violence research identifies a pattern that extends far beyond physical harm. Coercive control is a strategic course of conduct that strips away autonomy through isolation, monitoring, degradation, and the regulation of everyday life. It operates on a cycle, and that cycle has a specific rhythm designed to create dependency. The rhythm matters because it mirrors and then hijacks your natural attachment responses. The first phase is tension building. Small criticisms accumulate. The atmosphere grows unpredictable. You begin walking on eggshells, adjusting your behavior to prevent an escalation you can feel approaching. Your nervous system learns to monitor the other person's mood before your own needs. Over time, this hypervigilance becomes your default state, and you may mistake it for attentiveness or love. The second phase is the acute incident. It may be an explosion of anger, a cold withdrawal, a threat, or a punishment disguised as a consequence of your behavior. The tension breaks in a way that confirms your fear and reinforces the idea that you must try harder to keep the peace. Your sense of responsibility deepens, even though you did not create the volatility. The third phase is reconciliation. Apologies arrive. Warmth returns. Promises are made. This is the phase that bonds you to the cycle because it mimics genuine repair and activates your attachment system. The relief feels like love. Your brain, flooded with the contrast between fear and safety, encodes this moment deeply. It becomes the evidence you hold on to when things get bad again, the proof that the good version of this person is the real one. The fourth phase is calm. Things seem stable. You believe the relationship has turned a corner. But the calm is not resolution. It is the reloading of tension, and the cycle begins again. Each rotation tightens the bond, not because the relationship is growing healthier, but because your nervous system is adapting to an unpredictable reward structure. Now consider what this looks like in ordinary life, from the inside. You stop seeing a friend because every time you come home from their house, the rest of the evening is ruined. No one told you that you cannot see them. But the cost became too high, so you chose not to. You believe this was your decision. Months pass, and you realize you have not spoken to anyone outside the relationship in weeks. You begin explaining yourself constantly. Where you were, why you took that route, what you meant by that comment at dinner. Not because you were asked in an aggressive way, but because you learned that if you do not provide information preemptively, silence will be interpreted as deception. You feel perpetually on trial, and you have become both the accused and your own prosecutor. You lose the ability to name your own experience. When you express hurt, you are told you are overreacting, misremembering, or being manipulative yourself. Over time, your confidence in your own perception erodes. This is the dynamic commonly called gaslighting, and its power lies in repetition. A single instance might be a misunderstanding. A sustained pattern restructures your relationship with your own reality. You begin to distrust yourself more than you distrust the person causing harm. Here is the turn. The cycle does not continue because you are weak. It continues because it exploits normal human bonding. Intermittent reinforcement, the unpredictable alternation between punishment and reward, is one of the most powerful conditioning patterns known in behavioral psychology. It creates a stronger attachment bond than consistent kindness does. This is why leaving feels impossible even when you can clearly see the harm. Your nervous system is responding to a pattern that was built to keep you in place. Understanding this removes the shame. You are not failing. You are responding to a system designed to override your judgment. But the pattern can be interrupted, and recognition is the first interruption. Start with observation. Notice when you are making a choice based on avoiding someone's reaction rather than pursuing something you want. Notice when an apology comes without changed behavior. Notice when your social world has become smaller and the person at the center seems to be the only one who truly understands you. That feeling of being uniquely understood can itself be a product of isolation rather than genuine intimacy. Document what you experience. Not to build a legal case, though that may matter later, but to anchor your own memory. When your reality is routinely challenged, a private written record becomes a reference point. Date, time, what was said, what you felt, keep it somewhere inaccessible to the other person. Maintain or rebuild at least one outside connection, one friend, one family member, one counselor. Coercive control depends on monopolizing your reality. A single outside perspective can be enough to remind you that your perception is valid and that you are not the source of the problem. When possible, seek professional support. A therapist trained in domestic abuse or coercive control can help you distinguish between normal relationship conflict and systematic patterns of dominance. Helplines exist specifically for this purpose and can offer safety planning without requiring you to leave before you are ready. Name the boundary clearly to yourself, even if you cannot speak it aloud yet. A boundary is not an ultimatum delivered to the other person. It is a line you hold inside yourself about what you will and will not accept. Knowing where it is, even silently, is the beginning of reclaiming autonomy. Now let me step back and place this in context. Recognizing a cycle does not mean diagnosing another person. Abusive behavior exists on a spectrum. A single controlling moment during stress does not make someone an abuser, just as a single generous act does not undo a pattern of coercion. What matters is the sustained pattern and its effect on your freedom, your perception, and your sense of self. We are identifying dynamics here, not labeling people from a distance. Not every difficult relationship is abusive. Conflict, frustration, even occasional cruelty can exist within relationships that are not coercive. The distinguishing feature is whether one person's autonomy is being systematically dismantled for the other's control. If you are uncertain, that uncertainty itself deserves professional exploration, not a rushed conclusion in either direction. Return now to that moment at the beginning. Sitting across from someone you love, unable to remember the last time you made a simple choice without measuring their response. If that image felt familiar, if something in your chest tightened, then the pattern may already be in motion. And the fact that you noticed right now is not weakness. It is the first movement toward reclaiming the space that was taken from you gradually enough that you barely saw it go. Ask yourself one question. When was the last time you did something simply because you wanted to, without calculating the cost? This material is here to help you see what may be hidden in plain sight. Use it to recognize, to protect yourself or someone you care about, and never to harm another person. The Dark Mind Ledger. Understand the pattern. Protect yourself. This content is for educational and defensive purposes only. Understanding these tactics helps you recognize and protect yourself from manipulation. It is not intended to harm others.